Chair Gall, you may begin.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:13 PM. Welcome to the April 10th, 2023 City of Burlingame Planning Commission meeting. For all in attendance today, please note that the Planning Commission meeting is being held in person and using the Zoom webinar format. For those of you attending via Zoom, please note that there are several ways to submit comments during this meeting. You may raise your hand in Zoom by clicking on the raise hand button located at the bottom of your screen. Members of the public who are participating in the Zoom webinar by phone can dial *9 to raise a hand. You may also send your comments by email to publiccomment@burlingame.org. Staff will be monitoring the emails submitted during the meeting, which will be read at the appropriate time. The length of the emailed comment should be commensurate with 3 minutes customarily allowed for verbal comments. If you are an applicant or an applicant's representative, I will ask you to raise your hand when your agenda item is up for discussion so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. We ask that you also turn on your video at that time so we can have a more clear communication, simulating the experience we would have if we were meeting in person. This meeting is also being streamed live on YouTube and will be uploaded to the city's website. Agenda item number 2 is roll call. Let the record note that 6 members of the commission are present this evening. Commissioner Say is absent. Agenda item number 3 is the approval of the minutes. We have meeting minutes review this evening from the March 13th and March 27th regular planning commission meetings. Are there any comments or changes to these minutes? Vice Chair Foth.
Yes, with regard to 1205 Howard, on page 6, top of page.
And this is which?
Oh, I'm sorry, March 13th minute on page 6. It says, it's just like 3 lines down. The brick on the front porch might not work, oh, don't wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the line above it. The design work is fine and is communicative, but the other pages, I think it's supposed to say don't support it. It says the other pages support it. I think it just needs a don't. And that would.
Okay. Are there any other corrections or changes? No? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion?
Chair Gall, sorry.
Yes.
I was absent on the 27th, so we would need to do those separately.
Yeah, I was also absent on the, but I watched the meeting on Zoom. So, should we do those separate?
I watched the meeting.
You watched it as well? Okay. You're
And I'm
free to vote. Okay.
Okay, so we'll do them together.
Okay.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve minutes from March 13th, 2023 and March 27th, 2023 with the changes on March 13th.
Okay,
I'll second.
so we have a motion by Vice Chair Foth and a second by Commissioner Lowenthal. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camerado,
Aye.
Commissioner Horan,
Aye.
Commissioner Lowenthal,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Vice Chair Foth,
Aye.
and Gall.
Aye, so the motion passes 6-0-1 and is not appealable. Agenda item number 4 is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight?
Chair Gall, there are 2 changes to the agenda. Item 8C, 1409 Chapin Avenue will be continued to a future meeting at the request of the applicant. And then 9A 1212 Bernal Avenue has been continued for further review. It may or may not be subject to design review depending on further analysis. So it may come back or it may not. So those neither of those 2 items will be heard tonight.
Thank you. Do we have any recusals from the commissioners tonight?
I'll be recusing from item 8A since I will have financial conflict on this.
Okay, any other recusals? No, and Commissioner Say is absent, so she obviously will not be participating. Okay, agenda item number 5 is public comments, non-agenda. Members of the public may speak about any item not on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to suggest an item for future planning commission agenda may do so during the public comment period. The Ralph Brown Act, the state local agency open meeting law, prohibits the planning commission from acting on any matter that is not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please speak clearly into the microphone. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on any item that is not on our agenda?
There are no email comments, non-agenda.
And I don't see anyone moving in the audience, so. All right, so seeing none, we will move on to the next item. Next item is study items, of which we have none. And we'll move to the consent calendar, which is blank. So we're going to move on to regular action. All right, the first item is item 8A 1205 Mills Avenue. If you are the applicant or the applicant's representative and are attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to know any ex parte communication regarding this project? No, all right, then let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. We have a staff report.
Yes, the applicant is proposing to replace the existing one-story single-unit dwelling and detached garage at 1205 Mills Avenue with a new two-story single-unit dwelling and a new detached one-car garage with an accessory dwelling unit attached to it. Special permit is being requested for a 75 square foot second-story balcony at the rear of the house. A special permit is required for any second-story balcony, and the maximum size allowed is 75 square feet. The project includes a detached accessory dwelling unit attached to the proposed garage at the rear of the site. Review of the ADU application is administrative only, and staff has determined that the ADU complies with the ADU regulation. Plan Commission first reviewed this application as a design review study item on January 9th, where it was referred to a design review consultant. Based on the design review analysis of the revised project, the design reviewer recommends approval of the project as proposed. The design review consultant's analysis and recommendation are included with the staff report. On March 27th, the application returned to the Planning Commission, and the commission continued the application to allow for corrections to drafting errors and discrepancies on the plans and to resolve the first floor roof design along the left side of the house. The applicant submitted a response letter dated March 27th and revised plans dated April 3rd to address the commission's comments and suggestions. In summary, the applicant is requesting design review for a new two-story single-unit dwelling and detached garage and a special permit for second floor balcony, 75 square feet proposed, where up to 75 square feet is allowed with a special permit. The applicant is in attendance to answer questions, but first I'm available for questions of staff.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Yeah.
I just have a question because I noticed a letter from the public that came in, but I didn't see it after it was received after. So.
And we will read that into the record. It was sent to the public comment email box. So I think it was probably sent after the packet went out.
Okay.
But, we will read it at the public comment period.
Okay. If there are no other questions of staff, I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you'd like to add about your project?
Hey, my name is Nitin Handa and I'm the owner, and my architect John is here on the Zoom meeting. He will be able to describe, how we accommodated the comments from last time and also on the public comment regarding the balcony.
Okay.
Over to John.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for the applicant? John, Commissioner Schmidt?
Yeah, I'm sorry I wasn't here at the last meeting to ask this question, but the pavers that you're proposing on the backside of the ADU, is that gonna be on top and not disturb the redwood tree next door, or are you gonna have to dig into that in order to hit the level that you want?
No, we don't have to, because we have to raise the house. In any case, we have to put more dirt there, so we don't have to do any digging, but we are still putting permeable pavers, so that the water can go through.
Right. Perfect. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
I do have a question, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's the architect. Hopefully it's just really simple. It's on, it's your redone rendering on page, it's A 7.0.
Mhm.
I think it's just a drafting thing, but it's the top there are 6 images. The top row on the right, your window looks very off-centered. I looked at your drawings, they look better, but I just wanted to make sure that that window is centered under the gable, the window with 3 parts in the second floor.
Yeah, I think in the elevation view, it is pretty centered. If you look at the elevation, view, that's what is relevant. But yeah, in the rendering, maybe it might look a little off center,
Okay,
but we'll fix that drafting error if it is off centered. You're talking about the left side window.
yeah, yes, on the second floor, the one on the left side, it just looks very off on the rendering, but it looks better on the, I think
On the elevation view.
on the A 5.1, and I know that's what you're going off of, but
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure.
Mhm.
The project architect has his hand up, so Mr. Mabe, if you want to go ahead and speak, you can.
Okay. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, to your point, it will be centered on that wall. There's no intention of setting it off the center of that exterior view.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? All right, do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, or did we receive any public comment emails?
We do have one public comment email. And I'll read it here. Hi, Burlingame Planning Commission. We are residents and owners of 1209 Mills Avenue and would like to comment on the special permit for the second floor balcony at 1205 Mills. As next door neighbors to this property, we feel the addition of a balcony would impact our quality of life since a balcony reduces the privacy between us and the newly developed home. We have enjoyed over 20 years of backyard barbecues and family gatherings without the worry of neighbors looking down into our backyard. However, with a balcony, that would change dramatically. Having been through the recent pandemic, I think we can appreciate how valuable having outdoor private space is and the premium it commands in terms of property value. In addition, on this side of the block, all of the houses on this row, none of them have a balcony. We believe a special permit would not be consistent with the other 4 houses on this side of the block, specifically 1201 Mills, 1209 Mills, 1213 Mills, and 1217 Mills. Finally, please consider this. The developer is going to move on after they sell this home, while we will have to live with the consequences of lack of privacy forever. Please help us maintain the privacy we have enjoyed for over 20 years and disallow the second floor balcony. That is signed, much appreciated. Kitisek Larb and Kali Taylor of 1209 Mills Avenue in Burlingame.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you. Commissioners, any comments?
Yeah, I think they've addressed the comments over the last couple of meetings. I think the project looks a lot better as a result. The second floor balcony, I'm not a fan of second floor balconies myself, but I think they've met all the criteria. The setback on the right side is more than the minimum. So I'm inclined to approve this project.
And it appears that the landscape plan is providing vegetation to block any view from that side to the neighbors. So I think that mitigates the issue. All right, was that a motion, Commissioner Herring?
It can be. Make a motion to approve the project with the special permit for the second floor balcony.
I just want to add to that, before I second it, I completely understand the concern, and I'm not a big fan of the balconies either, but we did pull them just for the benefit of the public, the commenter, the neighbors. This is a really better version of what we used to do, which was very just dependent, and they varied a lot in size. And so I think this is more fair. And I do think the applicant has made an effort with evergreens to put plants in. And I would strongly recommend on their own side that they put in similar plants, evergreens or some evergreen hedging. It works great. I've had the same problem at my own house, and get one that works, that grows fast and just keep it trimmed, and they turn into green walls and it works really pretty well, and it mitigates the noise as well. So, and it looks better. I'm gonna second it.
Okay. So we have a motion by Commissioner Duran and a second by Vice Chair Foff. Any discussion on the motion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Haran,
Aye.
Commissioner Lowenthal,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmid.
Aye.
Vice Chair Foff,
Aye.
and Chair Gall.
Aye, the motion passes 5011, I believe.
Thank you.
And this is appealable. Action by the planning commission is appealable to the city council 10 days of the planning commission's action. If the planning commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the city council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $745, which includes noticing. Congratulations. and good
Thank you so
on the
much.
project. All right, we'll move on to agenda, regular action item 8B, 1205. If you are the applicant's representative, or attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte case of this project? All right, then let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we have a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. This is an application for commercial design review for a second-story addition and facade improvements to an existing two-story mixed-use building at 1205 Howard Avenue in the Howard Mixed Use Zoning District. This property is within the boundaries of the downtown specific area plan. The site's currently vacant, was most recently occupied by a salon. There is a basement level and the ground floor, which were used for storage for the personal service use. The proposed project, and most recently, the second floor is a residential unit. However, it has been most recently used as storage for the personal service use on the ground floor. The proposed project includes renovating and expanding the existing building. The expansion would be at the rear of the existing second floor. It's currently a roof deck, and it would be 406 square feet in area to expand the residential unit. The proposal includes facade improvements, including a complete overhaul of the facade, which would be demolishing and reframing the existing roof to accommodate the proposed rear addition. Staff would note that the ground floor personal service use currently is in for a tenant improvement permit. As personal service uses are permitted in this zone, it is assumed a salon would remain the proposed use. All uses located on the ground floor or below in the parking sector of the downtown specific plan are from our parking requirement. The current site currently contains 2 uncovered parking spaces located at the rear of the site. Those would be retained. The proposed addition would increase the bedroom count from 2 to 4 bedrooms, which does require 2 parking spaces, but the existing parking being retained would meet that requirement, and there's no additional parking required. The Planning Commission reviewed this project on March 13th of 2023. At that time, the commission did have several questions and comments regarding the plans and voted to look at the project back on the action calendar. The applicant has submitted a response letter dated March 29th, along with revised plans stamped March 30th. And in summary, the revised or consistency comments and the front elevation has also been revised. There were no changes to the square footage proposed for the addition. Staff has provided for your reference this evening the required findings for design review, as well as suggested findings and 12 conditions of approval. That concludes my presentation, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. The project architect as well as the property is available for comments this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? No, then I'm going to open the public hearing. Will the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Is this on? Is this on? Do we press the button anymore? Okay, okay. Good evening. Good evening, Commissioner, staff. Thank you for having us back here. I mean, not that you had a choice, but thank you. We outlined the revisions to the project in our response letter. I'm not going to go through this in detail, although your agenda was cut in half, so I could go in detail, but I won't. So what I do want to share, though, is that we really appreciate the comments and the feedback that we got from you. We really took them to heart and got back with the owner and embraced the critique that we got from you and came up with the revisions. And as a bit of candor, I want to admit that as a team, I'm here with our team. I won't introduce them, they know who they are. As a team, just in all honesty, I think we were a little timid and tiptoeing into the revisions when we came before you with the study session. And we've now embraced the revisions that we're putting before you. We got back together with the owner and she's embraced the feedback and the critique that we've received from you. And I think we've come up with what we believe is a better project. We hope you agree. I just wanted to, like I say, admit that I think we've come up with a better solution that's more in fitting with the context of Howard Avenue and what's happening in the neighborhood. And we're here to answer any questions or respond to any further feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
I do. I wanted to ask, looking at the, I'm going to just call them, I guess you're calling it a soffit. So the cutout part around the window. I'm just wondering how, was that just a clear cut straight or are you gonna, you're kind of putting it nice?
Commissioner,
athletic?
where,
But I unfortunately, I know that renderings are not necessarily accurate, but I don't know how really to read the other.
okay,
one.
you're looking at the 3D renderings.
Pardon?
You're looking at the 3D rendering?
I'm looking at, yeah, I'm
Okay,
looking at, it's the rendering photo montage, the street view.
okay.
Where I first saw the, you have the light, mimicked wood and aluminum and then, so how are you putting that? How are you imagining the pieces going together where it doesn't just look like somebody took a saw and cut it off?
So, okay, so I don't know if this is exactly what you're asking, but what we did was, the question came up in the study session as to what were we doing with the change in material? How are we offset that? Commissioner Schmidt, you asked, what that was. And at the time I said, probably a couple inches. Well, we went back and we revisited that. And what we did was, and Commissioner Foff, you had the question as to, what's the purpose of the material change? What's the intention? And so in revisiting what we were doing, what we decided to do instead was make the change in material more of an object on a plane on the facade, as opposed to just a material change and trying to offset that with a couple of inches of furring. So what we did was we made that actually 12 inches of change, knowing that we had extra width on the driveway side, we could do that, knowing that we could do that on the front facade. And so with that depth, what you're going to have then, between that new offset of 12 inches going back to then with the plane of the door and the windows, you'll have that 12 inches of relief between that front facade where the vertical siding will be and back to the building plane where the windows and the door will be. So we'll change that material, and what we'll probably do is at the corners of the vertical siding, at those horizontal and vertical changes between the darker siding and what we're showing as more of the gold or ochre colored siding on the window surrounds and the door surrounds. We'll probably use a brushed aluminum change, almost like a Schluter metal that you see in tile, so that we can change that material and it'll change from one material to the other. Just so that we have a little bit of an offset between, or a little bit of a designation between those two material changes, so that they're not just butting, one material to the other. There'll be a change in material that is creating that separation between the two. So I don't know if that's answering the question that you're asking.
It is, and I did understand from your explanation on your other pages that you are, making considerable, having some depth, which is great. I just was not quite understanding how that was going to read in real life if it was just kind of like that. I understand you're using different things, but that was my question. The other was, is there and I was one person who said I did not think there was enough difference between the two. And now I'm looking at this thinking that it's that it's good that there's a big change, but maybe is there an equation you used or you just thought that looked good? I'm just wondering if it's not a bit high, little,
You're talking about the vertical change
yeah.
between one roof?
There's a vertical, you've changed now to verticals.
Mhm,
It-
right.
And it's dark.
Yeah.
Dark, you kept with the dark.
Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering, is there like a 4-foot difference between I just guessed because I was looking at the numbers on
Yeah, and the parapet height, yeah, between the two parapets, there's a 4-foot difference.
a 4-foot.
Yeah, and so
Mhm.
again, we were trying to create
Right.
a little bit of a difference and trying to get some good proportions when we took, and this is where when we took the sort of vertical material as object on the facade, when we had it as just a 12-inch separation between the two parapets, the box, if you will, that we were attaching just got a little squat.
Right.
So we went a little bit more vertical. And honestly, it was just constructability and economics, and same thing with the offset, trying to get more than 2 inches. But when we get past 12 inches, suddenly we have more of a structural cantilever that requires a lot more engineering. And so it was really just an issue of trying to strike a median between all of those different issues. So the change in height in the vertical plane is to try to give a little bit more height to that box that kind of lifted up on the. So
But it doesn't have to be 4 feet. It could be 3 feet.
it could be 3.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Just
3.5. It could,
looking at proportions, it's just me, but
okay.
that was the question.
Yeah.
Okay, and.
One other comment on that.
Mhm.
What we are also thinking is that would also allow us that 4 foot of height, that would also allow us to use that potentially as a screen for any mechanical equipment that might be on.
Got it.
We could tuck that into that corner
Understood.
and then not have it visible from, from the street, or and it probably wouldn't be anyway, but we could use that as a screen.
And finally, if I could just ask one more thing, sorry about that. I did not see a landscape plan. I do see that you kept the tree. That's great. I noticed on your rendering, you have some little bushes. And the comment made before was that you're going to keep as much as you can. But you're
Correct.
putting that big stair thing in. So is there a plan where we can see that there you've got some shrubs in the bottom there?
Yeah, we could come back perhaps as an FYI or even just a
Right.
supplement that we can work with staff if you don't want to make it an FYI, but we can do a landscape plan once we have the details of the landing, the elevator and the box. And see what we have that landscape in there. We definitely want to keep it as lush as possible at the bottom of the
Mhm.
stairs. So, because it's a nice feel the way it is. And since we're keeping the magnolia, we don't want it to feel, kind of left alone.
Right.
So that's a good point.
Okay. That was it for my main question.
Okay, any other? Commissioner
Yeah.
Blumenthal?
I have a couple quick questions.
Sure.
On the inside details of the windows, it looks like it's a different color material. Is that just a rendering thing, or is it in fact different material or different color on the interior of the window boxes?
No, it's going to be all the same kind of a dark bronze.
Okay.
Or aluminum, commercial grade aluminum.
Okay, so that's all good.
Good. Yeah, it's going to be all the same metal.
And then it may not even be possible, but did you consider on the left elevation where the windows kind of go half and half of the stucco and it kind of hits the windows about 2/3 of the way down? You ever consider maybe dropping the dark brown piece down to the bottom of the window and encapsulate?
Oh, down to the bottom of the window on the left hand, that's to the left, that's in the
Like-
stairwell.
Maybe it's just me. It just seems like it might look a little odd the way it is, but maybe it'll turn out okay.
Yeah, no, I think that if it aligned with well, I think we didn't want to align all the way with the bottom of if you're looking at that left facade, we didn't want to come all the way down to the bottom of those windows. We wanted to create a bit of separation. But now that I'm looking at it, if we align with the window to the left, that's in the stairwell, that at least give it a logical point to where it comes off to create a datum line along there.
Okay, sounds good.
Would that interfere with the front handrail though?
I think we still have enough room for that and the landing in terms of how much step, because the lift area is going to be to the right of that. So we just have to avoid that 12-inch zone.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, but would you then bring it around the front of the building also?
Let's see. Well, we definitely want to align it with that
But
same
I think
height.
you are, because it looks on the on the elevation at least, like the top of the handrail is above the bottom of the window.
Yeah, if you look at the elevation on the left side, there would still be a separation of, I would say about 8 to 10 inches between the handrail and the bottom of that wood. The bottom of the vertical siding.
Yeah, but aren't we talking about dropping it down to the bottom of the window?
No, not the bottom of the windows where the wood is sitting. I'm talking about dropping it down to the bottom of the window to the left of that.
Oh, I see,
siding.
I see.
Yeah, just so
Okay.
it has a logical.
Yeah,
place
yeah, yeah.
Where it stops.
Okay.
So
Right.
no, it wouldn't come all the way down to the railing.
Any other questions for the applicant? No? All right, or do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, or did we receive any public comment emails?
No public comment emails on this item.
And no hands raised.
Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you, Richard. Commissioners, any discussion, comments?
I can start. I think it looks great. I really appreciate what they've done with the comments. The front of the building looks remarkably different and better. I think it has some really cool detail that will be talking points of the town. I like the louvers on the windows. That's a neat detail. I think the windows look much better, more aligned. I like the difference in materials and the difference in depths and the difference in heights. And I think it hits the modern theme of the street. Unfortunately, some of the other boxes aren't as interesting as this, and I think it adds a lot of interest. So I'm in favor of the project.
Anyone else? I'll go. Commissioner Schmidt.
I appreciate the changes as well. It looks, the whole package looks like a lot more thought through and consistent all the way through. I actually wouldn't lower the wood. I actually like the half window on the left because it kind of gives you a unintentional shading to some degree. And I think if you lower it, you're going to have to lower it too much to actually hit anything appreciable. And then it's going to get in the way of other things. So I wouldn't actually look at that hard because I just don't think you're going to get to the right spot by lowering it. But I appreciate the new entry. I didn't feel like the old brick stairs were working with the new design intent. So I like it. And I appreciate the extra effort put into the drawings themselves. Thanks.
Okay.
I'm gonna go. So I also, this is a day and night for me. Nice job. It's not a deal breaker for me, but I am very interested in proportions and I might just want to fiddle with that. You know, is it 6 inches less or whatever, just something where there's a little more tension. I don't know. And the other thing is, I'm afraid I just don't know enough about construction, particularly with the aluminum product to know. I can see how this could look kind of cool. The thing with the window on the left hand, the two windows, it could look kind of cool. It'd just be really sad if it wasn't quite, if it looked like, oh, they got cheap and just cut it off. And I don't know, maybe I was just trying to figure out, is there a neat angle you could do to like make a piece where it could be kind of at an angle, going back into the stucco, but I just don't know enough about building. It was just what I was imagining. And finally, on my own rendering, you had a flashing at the top of the, I guess the parapet on the stucco, which was, you know, flashing color. And I just darkened it with, which in your case would be, I don't know, paint or something similar to what the windows are and or what the dark is at the top that you have lining the piece on the left that goes way up the other parapet on the left-hand side. You have some kind of finish piece there, looks like, that's finishing. And I think it would look really nice Art Deco-y to continue that, or paint it the same color you're flashing on the stucco area. It would kind of make it feel more complete to me. You might consider it. Because it kind of has that sort of streamline look now with these metal, the vertical, the horizontal pieces on the metal, on the windows and such. So I think it's some little maybe details to think about. It's not a deal breaker, but I really appreciate the improvements, really appreciate it. And also would really like if there could be, yes, a cleaned up landscape plan. And there is not, I don't know, it's maybe something to inquire if there's room for a street tree, but maybe with that magnolia, there's just not room. I've asked about that before, but if you want your magnolia to be like center of attention, it's beautiful tree and it's never green. Maybe it's enough. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Any other comment? Would anyone like to make a motion? Well, I'll make a motion to approve the project with the conditions as stated in the staff report and with an FYI to come back for a landscape plan.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Chair Gall and a second by Commissioner Schmidt. Any just? Nope. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camerado,
Aye.
Commissioner Haran,
Aye.
Commissioner Lowenthal,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pfaff,
Aye.
and Chair Gall.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0-1 and an action by the planning commission is appealable to the city council within 10 days of the planning commission's action. If the planning commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the city council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $735, which includes noticing cost. Congratulations and good luck with your project. All right, that concludes our regular action items, and we do not have any design review study as the one project has been continued, so we'll move on to commissioners' reports. Do we have any commissioners' reports? I'm gonna guess no. Since nobody's saying anything, or just up and down. All right, directors' reports.
There are no FYIs on this agenda. The city council meeting on last week, there was a overview presentation of the town square project. We're starting the construction document phase, which is the last design phase before construction. So that's exciting. So it was an approval of that contract, but also just an overview of the design development phase, bring people up to speed. Welcome to either watch that video or we have the presentation slides at burlingame.org/town square.
Okay, thank you.
I watched.
Agenda item number 12 is future agenda items. Are there any future agenda items? Or would anyone like to suggest any? Nope. Okay. No, the baseball games are getting shorter, so the meeting. So look, it's the second half of the Giants and the Dodgers tonight. I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 7:50 p.m. Thank you for coming and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Yeah. Hold on. All right. Now these tough